What is up, guys? Doing another one down themed build, and today we're taking a look at Jacket. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're packing. Packing the Raven shotgun, outfitted with AP rounds. We're bringing Jacket's piece, the submachine gun. Bringing the Carpenter's Delight melee, the Shuriken throwable, first aid kit deployable, wearing the two-piece suit, and of course utilizing the Sociopath perk deck. Let's go ahead and look at the mods that we're using on our guns. So on the Raven, as I said, we're using AP rounds. Also using the short barrel suppressor, concealment modifier, no gadget, and the flip-up sight in order to... this combination of mods is to get a little bit of concealment. I did use the barrel instead of the silent killer suppressor, even though it did decrease concealment a little bit in order to get that little bit of extra accuracy, which does help with AP rounds. And then for Jacket's piece, using the Warble's suppressor, the concealment boost modifier, the auto fire mod, LED combo gadget, surgeon sight, the war-torn stock, and the OG Payday 2 weapon skin, 80s calling. The one true skin to rule them all. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the skills that we're using. Of course, using first aid kits, uppers, to prevent myself from going down in certain scenarios. Overkill aced, and close by aced as well, increasing the rate of fire of the Raven. And also overkill aced, extending that 75% damage boost over to the Jacket's piece, as well as providing myself with an 80% weapon swap speed. I do have scavenger ace, not only because I enjoy the skill, but also because the extra ammo boxes prove to be pretty important to a bullet hose like the Jacket's piece, just in case you get tased, and yeah, I don't know, it's just nice to have. A throwaway point and hardware expert. Got lock and load aced, as well as surefire basics to make the Jacket's piece a little bit better in terms of reload speed and the amount of DPS that it has. Of course, getting fire control basic and steady grip basic also helped in the realm of accuracy, giving me 20 extra accuracy when I'm firing from the hip. Shockproof ace because tasers suck, which is more so important when using a bullet hose like weapon, such as the Jacket's piece, to prevent yourself from completely emptying your magazine when you're trying to flail around and find the taser. Low blow ace to pick up crits, because what is Jacket if not a lethal killer who knows exactly where to strike to get those critical hits? That's how I like to rationalize it. Specialized killing, in order to pull out a little bit more damage from our guns. Optical illusions ace so we can reach our concealment that we desire in order to fully utilize our crits. And in fugitive, bloodthirst aced and berserker aced. Berserker aced helping us in times of dire need. Of course, I would imagine as Jacket gets angrier, he gets more lethal, and of course, Jacket is a melee character, or is, in the original Hotline Miami game, is prominently seen using many various melee weapons, so of course he's associated with melee. Thus the reason for bringing up Bloodthirst. Alright, so now that we've taken a quick look at the build, let's go ahead and take a deeper look in the gameplay. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the build, since that's what we're here to do. So concerning my weapon choice, of course I wanted to use Jacket's piece, Carpenter's Delight, and the Shurikens because they were all utilized by Jacket in some way, shape, or form. The baseball bat could have also been used as a melee. I just used the Carpenter's Delight because it's the one associated with Jacket and Payday, although I feel as though the baseball bat's a bit more iconic to Jacket's character overall. Regardless, Jacket's piece is a pretty good SMG, as I referred to it in the intro clip. It is a bit of a bullet hose, but that's alright. It allows it to have very intense bursts of suppressing fire, and has pretty good kill power when combined with the various skills that I have. It makes an excellent crit machine if modded correctly, with the appropriate skills of course, and so on and so forth. Overall, I feel like it's a pretty good SMG. Not by far and away an outstanding SMG, but it's a fun one to use, and it can definitely be used on one down to decent effect. Its only drawback that I feel is its extremely long reload time without any skills, and the excruciatingly, painfully, stupidly long dry reload, where you have no bullets left in the magazine. doing an empty reload with a jackets piece feels like it takes an eternity. So that's no fun. Concerning the AP shotgun I was using, AP rounds are definitely useful. You don't see them get used too often because normally when people are bringing shotguns, you know, if you were bringing something that was armor piercing, you might as well just bring a sniper rifle instead of like a shotgun, for instance. However, AP shotguns do have their own place, I feel like, and they definitely aren't bad by any means. I actually enjoyed using the AP shotguns on this build, and I plan on utilizing them a bit more in the future. Maybe not to an extreme extent, but they perform a bit better than most people probably expect they would. I'm sure most people would expect that they would be complete garbage, but they're not. And you'll see, just with overkill active and, you know, silencer skills and so forth, I'll be able to one-shot shields and other standard 720 health units in the head. And then, of course, with crits, I'll be able to one-shot a few other units, like the Elite Heavy SWAT. I'll be able to one-shot them if I land a crit headshot. However, you know, disregarding the crits, the AP rounds are still excellent in the terms that, you know, they go through shields, they go through thin walls, and so forth. And usually shotguns with AP rounds have a bit more rate of fire, particularly when you're looking at something like the Raven. Shurikens are also good, high damage, and they're good for taking out enemies like medics and tasers. If you can poker out, if you can poke out from around the corner, hit them with the shuriken and duck back into cover, prevents you from having to stick yourself out of cover too long. Didn't want to risk getting downed right there, so I just let the drill be because I knew those enemies were going to be pouring in. The combination of overkill aced, having berserker, suppressor skills, and crits made this combination of weapons very deadly. I really don't have any trouble killing enemies whatsoever, which was pretty important with this build because when you're using Sociopath, we'll segue into talking about that. Sociopath is a very fun perk deck, not particularly outstanding in comparison to some of the better perk decks. Of course, I'm thinking of the top 5 perk decks, which we've talked about on various different occasions. However, being able to... Sorry, I just got distracted by how cool it was that I was able to shoot all those shields so quickly with my AP shotgun. Anyway, Sociopath is a very fun perk deck. It's one I've always I've had a soft place in my heart for it very frequently because, holy crap, I was able to one-shot that taser with a crit. It's awesome. Jacket's piece absolutely shreds dozers. Sociopath is fun. They changed the cooldowns. It's been a little bit, several weeks since they changed the cooldowns. Actually, it's probably been closer to almost like a month and a half, maybe. I don't know. My sense of time is all wonky right now. Regardless, though, the Sociopath perks, you get armor regen when you kill an enemy. You get various armor back depending on the range at which you kill the enemy. You have a 75% chance to spread panic to enemies when you kill them within a medium range, which I believe is designated to be like I want to say 18 meters, but that feels wrong. Regardless, it triggers when you kill an enemy who seems to be intuitively at a medium range. So the panic element is very fun. You can also get health back on melee kills as opposed to Infiltrator, who gets more health back from a melee hit, but with a slightly longer cooldown, which is kind of counterintuitive if you ask me, but regardless. The healing aspect of Sociopath wasn't really utilized in this build simply because the Carpenter's Delight isn't a very good killing melee. It's not even really that good of a melee overall, so I instead opted to just kind of stray away from that. It's not really a strong suit on one down anyway, with the amount of skills you have to have in order to fully utilize the amount of health you could get back. Of course, I do have Berserker and I do have Bloodthirst, so I would be able to get some pretty high melee damage, but even with all those stacks, it really doesn't help hurt many of these enemies, particularly like heavy SWATs and so forth. However, the armor regen only has a 1 second cooldown. Actually, all of these effects have a 1 second cooldown, spreading panic and getting armor regen on a kill. And in a way, the armor regen you get, focusing primarily on suit at the moment. Dozer clipped really funnily into the wall right there. Cracked me up. His legs sticking all askew in the door frame and stuff. If you compare it to something like Anarchist, Anarchist does have the passive armor regen. It does give you extra armor and all these various things. I did use Sociopath with a suit. Most would say that Sociopath is better suited with armor. I would agree. However, I don't like using armor, so I just use it with a suit anyway. Even in using it with an ICTV, the amount of armor I would have had honestly just wouldn't have been enough to warrant using it. I would have avoided some chip damage from the weaker enemy units, but things like dozers and heavy swats still would have eviscerated me, which are really the only things I'm extremely worried about anyway. Because most of the weaker units that don't do that much damage to me, I can kill and regen my armor before they can even do that much damage to me, which is one of the things I wanted to highlight, was having very high DPS weapons that allow you to kill enemies and kill enemies as quickly as possible to keep your armor up, to prevent enemies from shooting your armor down. Armor gating effectively with Sociopath is what makes it pretty strong. You can actually make pretty decent Sociopath builds to use on one down, and you know, for anybody who's interested in using Sociopath, I actually greatly encourage you to attempt to make some builds surrounding it. You know, try to focus on skills that allow you to get higher DPS. You know, things like Frenzy. You know, but of course, if you're going to use Frenzy, it's probably going to be a smarter idea to bring armor, heavier armor sets. You know, suppressor skills, crits if you're not wanting to go down the armor route, and things of that nature. Just allowing yourself to have more DPS so that you can eviscerate enemies, regen your armor. Of course, if you have larger armor. If you're wearing larger armors, you won't be able to get all of your armor back. You'll only be able to, on a standard kill, regenerate 30 armor. On a close range kill, regenerate 60 armor per kill every second or so. However, utilizing the suit, of course, no matter where I killed the enemy, I got all my armor back, which for the purposes of armor gating was really all I needed. It could have been any amount. It could have been one armor that I got back from a kill, and that was all I would have cared about, just due to the mechanics of armor gating and so forth. And the getting the kills and getting the armor back isn't affected by suppression, which is a really nice thing. So if you're being suppressed by a turret from behind cover and you get an enemy kill, you'll get your armor back regardless. It's quite like Bullseye in that regard, except you can use it a little bit faster. So Bullseye in combination with you know, the Sociopath perk is actually pretty nice. So funny fact right there, when I was actually trying to point at the shield, or highlight the shield instead of grab the tiara, and I didn't know that I was in range to grab the tiara and didn't see that I picked it up. So here in a minute you'll see me bumbling around trying to pick up the tiara through the wall and running up next to it, only to realize that I did pick it up. I thought it was a glitch at first, but I just didn't realize in the heat of the moment all that was going on. I was actually having a blast using this build. I loved the tight quarters play, dodging around enemies. I actually felt like I was playing a 3D version of Hotline Miami, which is, I love that game. I love both of the games. I own both of them and have a great time playing them. I actually thought this was going to be the end of the run right here, but thankfully none of these enemy units were able to deal too much damage to me before I was eviscerated. I was extremely happy about that. Of course, even though I did get the good spawn with the shipping container against the side of the wall, I again got the same escape that required me to go around, but instead of charging through the front, I just decided to go through the back, since none of the enemies were going to be on this back side anyway, considering their pathing wouldn't allow them to go through this wall. Had to make sure there wasn't any snipers around. Went ahead and made sure I got my health back up. Overall, I think Sociopath is a fun perk deck. I think it's mediocrely viable on one down. I don't think it's anything fantastic, but I do think it's usable, and I encourage people to make some builds, test around with it, play with it, and maybe you can find something that works out pretty well. And maybe I'll do a one-down team build in the future surrounding Sociopath just with my friends for fun. But anyway, guys, that about wraps it up for this video, and as usual, thank you guys so much for watching.